In the small town of Bethlehem, nestled in the heart of the West Bank, a young couple named Miriam and Joseph found themselves at the center of a miraculous event. It was a time of great political unrest, with tensions between various factions, foreign powers, and local governments. Despite the chaos, Miriam and Joseph were filled with a profound sense of peace and anticipation as they awaited the birth of their child. Miriam, a modest schoolteacher, had experienced a series of vivid dreams in which an angelic figure had foretold the birth of her son. Joseph, a carpenter by trade, was initially skeptical but soon found himself sharing in his wife's unshakable faith. They both knew that their child was destined for greatness, though they could not fully comprehend the magnitude of his future. On a cold December night, under a sky illuminated by a rare conjunction of planets, Miriam went into labor. The small hospital in Bethlehem was bustling, overwhelmed by the influx of patients due to recent unrest. Yet, in a modest room at the back of the hospital, surrounded by the hum of machinery and the distant sounds of conflict, Jesus was born. News of the birth spread quickly, carried by the whispers of nurses and the excited chatter of visitors. A group of shepherds, modern-day farmers who had been out in the fields with their livestock, were the first to visit. They arrived with smartphones in hand, capturing the moment and sharing it on social media. Within hours, the birth of Jesus had gone viral, capturing the attention of millions around the world. As people from all corners of the globe began to take notice, 3 distinguished visitors arrived from the East. These were not kings or wise men in the traditional sense, but rather influential figures in science, philosophy, and spirituality. They had followed the celestial signs and converged on Bethlehem, each bearing gifts that symbolized their hopes for the future. The first, a renowned astrophysicist, brought a gift of a rare meteorite, symbolizing the connection between the heavens and the earth. The second, a philosopher of ethics, offered a manuscript on the principles of universal compassion and justice. The third, a spiritual leader, carried an ancient relic, a token of humanity's enduring search for divine truth. As they laid their gifts before the newborn child, they pondered the profound significance of this moment. In a world dominated by technology and fraught with division, the birth of Jesus signaled a potential turning point, a beacon of hope in a tumultuous era. Word of the miraculous birth and the strange visitors reached the ears of Herod Antipas, the regional governor. Viewing the newborn as a potential threat to his power, Herod issued a decree that sent shockwaves through the community. But the family, warned by a modern-day vision, managed to flee under the cover of darkness, blending into the streams of refugees seeking safety across borders. Meanwhile, the digital world buzzed with debates and discussions. Skeptics and believers alike took to social media, news outlets, and forums to voice their opinions. Some saw the event as a divine miracle, a sign of a new era of peace and understanding. Others dismissed it as a hoax or a mere coincidence, fueled by the fervor of a gullible public. In the years that followed, Jesus grew up in the midst of this polarized world, navigating the complexities of a global society. His teachings began to emerge through a series of viral videos, blog posts, and live-streamed gatherings, attracting a diverse following. He spoke of love, forgiveness, and the importance of compassion in an increasingly fragmented world. Yet, as his influence grew, so did the opposition. Powerful figures in politics, business, and even religious institutions felt threatened by his message. They sought to undermine him, spreading misinformation and sowing doubt among his followers. Despite these challenges, Jesus remained steadfast in his mission. He traveled extensively, touching the lives of countless individuals from different backgrounds and beliefs. His presence brought healing and hope, but also stirred controversy and conflict. The climax of his journey was yet to come, as forces beyond his control began to converge, setting the stage for a confrontation that would test the very fabric of modern society. What would be the outcome of his mission? How would his teachings resonate in a world so different from the one he was born into? The story of Jesus in modern times was far from over, with its next chapters poised to unfold in ways both familiar and utterly unprecedented. As Jesus grew into adulthood, his presence on the digital stage continued to expand. His words resonated with a global audience, transcending cultural and linguistic barriers. Through his teachings, Jesus emphasized the importance of empathy, kindness, and the power of collective action to bring about positive change. He championed the rights of the marginalized, calling for justice and equity in a world beset by inequality. One of his most ardent followers was a young woman named Layla, a tech-savvy activist from New York City. Inspired by Jesus' message, Layla used her skills to amplify his teachings, creating a robust online platform that connected people from all walks of life. Together, they launched initiatives to address pressing social issues, from climate change to racial injustice, mobilizing a vast network of volunteers and supporters. However, as Jesus' influence grew, so did the scrutiny and backlash. Powerful entities, threatened by his call for systemic change, began to view him as a disruptive force. Media conglomerates, driven by interests that often conflicted with his message, portrayed him as a radical, distorting his teachings to sow confusion and doubt. In the corridors of power, influential figures convened to discuss how to neutralize what they saw as a growing threat. Among them was Senator Marcus Kane, a charismatic politician with deep ties to corporate interests. Kane spearheaded a campaign to discredit Jesus, leveraging his connections to spread false narratives and fuel public skepticism. Meanwhile, Jesus continued his mission undeterred. He traveled extensively, visiting refugee camps, inner-city neighborhoods, and war-torn regions, offering solace and hope to those in despair. His compassion and humility won him the hearts of many, but also intensified the hostility from those who saw him as a challenge to the status quo. During a pivotal moment in his journey, Jesus attended a global summit on climate change in Geneva. There, he delivered a stirring speech, calling for a united effort to save the planet and urging leaders to prioritize the well-being of future generations over short-term gains. His words struck a chord, igniting a movement that swept across continents. However, the resistance against him grew more coordinated. Marcus Kane, leveraging his political influence, orchestrated a series of investigations into Jesus and his followers. Accusations of fraud, manipulation, and even treason were leveled, leading to a media frenzy. Jesus' online presence, once a beacon of hope, became a battleground of conflicting narratives. Amidst the chaos, Layla and other close followers worked tirelessly to counteract the misinformation. They organized peaceful protests, created educational content, and reached out to communities to spread Jesus' true message. Their efforts, however, were met with increasing hostility from both authorities and opposition groups. The climax approached when Jesus planned a mass gathering in Washington, D.C., aiming to bring together people from all over the world in a demonstration of unity and peace. The event, dubbed the March of Compassion, was set to be a historic moment, drawing attention from all corners of the globe. As the day of the march arrived, tensions were palpable. Authorities, anticipating unrest, deployed a heavy security presence. Marcus Kane, in a final bid to silence Jesus, manipulated intelligence reports to portray the event as a threat to national security, paving the way for a crackdown. Jesus, standing at the forefront of the march, remained calm and resolute. He addressed the crowd with words of encouragement, emphasizing the power of love and the importance of standing together in the face of adversity. His voice, amplified by the multitude of supporters, echoed through the streets. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The sound of sirens grew louder as security forces moved in. Chaos erupted as clashes broke out between protesters and authorities. In the midst of the turmoil, Jesus was apprehended, his peaceful resistance met with force. The world watched in shock as live broadcasts captured the unfolding events. Supporters and detractors alike held their breath, uncertain of what would come next. As Jesus was taken away, his message of compassion and justice lingered in the air, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those who believed. What fate awaited Jesus in the modern world? How would his followers continue his mission in the face of mounting opposition? The story, teetering on the brink of a new chapter, remained unfinished, poised to explore the enduring impact of his presence in a contemporary era fraught with challenges and opportunities. Jesus' arrest sent shockwaves through the world. His supporters, shocked and heartbroken, rallied together to demand his release. Social media platforms exploded with hashtags like #FreeJesus and #JusticeForJesus, drawing millions of people into a global conversation about the values he stood for. Layla, undeterred by the chaos, quickly mobilized Jesus' followers. She coordinated with activists, legal experts, and human rights organizations to launch a campaign not just for his freedom, but for a broader movement against injustice. Rallies and peaceful protests erupted in cities around the world, with people of all faiths and backgrounds uniting under the banner of love and compassion. In a high-security detention center, Jesus awaited his fate with unwavering calm. He spent his days in quiet reflection, reaching out to fellow inmates, offering them words of hope and understanding. His presence in the prison had a profound impact, fostering an environment of peace and solidarity among those who had lost all hope. Meanwhile, Marcus Cain and his allies intensified their efforts to dismantle the movement. Cain appeared on every major news network, painting Jesus and his followers as dangerous radicals intent on undermining societal order. Despite the mounting opposition, the groundswell of public support for Jesus continued to grow. Amidst this turmoil, a secret trial was convened. The courtroom was heavily guarded, and the proceedings were closed to the public. However, Layla and a team of dedicated journalists managed to uncover key details, exposing the biased nature of the trial and the lack of due process. Their revelations sparked outrage, further galvanizing the global movement. In the courtroom, Jesus faced a panel of stern-faced judges. The charges against him ranged from inciting public unrest to challenging state authority. Throughout the trial, Jesus remained composed, answering questions with humility and clarity. His words resonated deeply, even with those who had come to condemn him. As the trial progressed, unexpected allies began to emerge. Influential figures from various fields, scientists, artists, spiritual leaders, and even former skeptics, spoke out in support of Jesus, emphasizing the transformative impact of his teachings. Their testimonies highlighted the profound need for compassion and unity in a divided world. Despite the powerful defense, the verdict seemed predetermined. The judges, pressured by political forces, found Jesus guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, a decision met with widespread condemnation and protests. The world watched as Jesus was led away, his fate seemingly sealed by the powers that be. Yet, even in confinement, Jesus' influence could not be contained. His followers, inspired by his unwavering faith and resilience, continued to spread his message. They organized community programs, built networks of support for the oppressed, and fostered dialogues aimed at bridging divides. The movement, now leaderless, evolved into a decentralized force for global change. In the prison, Jesus continued to inspire those around him. Stories of his kindness and wisdom spread, even reaching the guards and administrators. His cell became a place of quiet pilgrimage, where inmates and staff alike sought solace and guidance. Outside the prison walls, Layla and her allies devised a bold plan. They aimed to leverage the growing public support and the undeniable moral authority of Jesus' message to secure his release. They petitioned international bodies, organized mass demonstrations, and used every platform available to keep the pressure on. As the campaign for Jesus' freedom reached a critical point, unexpected events began to unfold. Whistleblowers from within the government came forward, revealing the extent of the conspiracy against Jesus. Leaked documents and recordings provided irrefutable evidence of the political machinations that had led to his imprisonment. The revelations sparked a crisis within the government. Public confidence in the authorities plummeted, and calls for accountability grew louder. Marcus Cain, now under intense scrutiny, found his political career unraveling. The tide of public opinion had turned decisively in favor of justice. With mounting pressure, the government had no choice but to reconsider Jesus' case. A special review panel was convened, this time with transparency and fairness. As the world held its breath, the panel examined the evidence and heard testimonies from across the globe. Finally, the day arrived when the panel announced its decision. Jesus was to be released immediately, with all charges against him dropped. The news reverberated around the world, igniting celebrations and renewed hope among his followers. As Jesus walked free from the prison, he was greeted by an overwhelming throng of supporters. Layla, standing at the forefront, embraced him with tears of joy. The movement had not only secured his freedom, but had also ignited a powerful wave of change. Yet, as Jesus stepped into his newfound freedom, the challenges ahead remained daunting. The world was still rife with division and conflict, and the journey toward true justice and compassion was far from over. Jesus, with his unwavering faith and boundless love, prepared to continue his mission, knowing that the story of his life in the modern world was still unfolding, with many chapters yet to be written. Outside the prison walls, Layla and her allies devised a bold plan. They aimed to leverage the growing public support and the undeniable moral authority of Jesus' message to secure his release. They petitioned international bodies, organized mass demonstrations, and used every platform available to keep the pressure on. As the campaign for Jesus' freedom reached a critical point, unexpected events began to unfold. Whistleblowers from within the government came forward, revealing the extent of the conspiracy against Jesus. Leaked documents and recordings provided irrefutable evidence of the political machinations that had led to his imprisonment. The revelations sparked a crisis within the government. Public confidence in the authorities plummeted, and calls for accountability grew louder. Marcus Kane, now under intense scrutiny, found his political career unraveling. The tide of public opinion had turned decisively in favor of justice. With mounting pressure, the government had no choice but to reconsider Jesus' case. A special review panel was convened, this time with transparency and fairness. As the world held its breath, the panel examined the evidence and heard testimonies from across the globe. Finally, the day arrived when the panel announced its decision. Jesus was to be released immediately, with all charges against him dropped. The news reverberated around the world, igniting celebrations and renewed hope among his followers. As Jesus walked free from the prison, he was greeted by an overwhelming throng of supporters. Layla, standing at the forefront, embraced him with tears of joy. The movement had not only secured his freedom, but had also ignited a powerful wave of change. Yet, as Jesus stepped into his newfound freedom, the challenges ahead remained daunting. The world was still rife with division and conflict, and the journey toward true justice and compassion was far from over. Jesus, with his unwavering faith and boundless love, prepared to continue his mission, knowing that the story of his life in the modern world was still unfolding, with many chapters yet to be written. As Jesus walked out of the prison gates, the crowd erupted in a chorus of cheers and tears. People from all walks of life had gathered, holding signs of support and chanting his name. Cameras from every major news outlet captured the moment, broadcasting it live to millions around the world. Layla, by his side, felt a wave of relief and determination. This was not just a victory for Jesus, but for the values he represented. Once free, Jesus addressed the crowd with his usual calm and compassion. He thanked everyone for their unwavering support and urged them to continue striving for a world built on love, justice, and understanding. His words resonated deeply, reinforcing the sense of purpose and unity among his followers. In the days that followed, Jesus and his closest supporters, including Layla, strategized their next steps. They decided to establish a new initiative called The Way Forward, aimed at tackling the most pressing global issues through grassroots activism and policy advocacy. They set up headquarters in a modest building in Jerusalem, symbolically connecting their mission to both ancient history and modern aspirations. The Way Forward quickly became a hub for changemakers from around the world. Experts in environmental science, social justice, healthcare, and education came together to collaborate on innovative solutions. Jesus led by example, participating in every discussion, listening intently, and offering insights that transcended conventional thinking. However, the path was not without obstacles. Marcus Kane, though politically weakened, still wielded considerable influence. He and his allies launched a new wave of attacks, this time focusing on undermining the way forward. They accused the movement of being unrealistic and impractical, using media outlets to spread doubt and fear. Despite these challenges, the Way Forward gained momentum. Their first major project was a global initiative to address climate change, combining scientific research with community action. Jesus traveled to areas most affected by environmental degradation, from the melting ice caps to deforested regions in the Amazon, raising awareness and mobilizing local communities. During one such trip to a coastal village threatened by rising sea levels, Jesus met an elderly fisherman named Ibrahim. Ibrahim's livelihood had been devastated by the changing climate, but he found hope in Jesus' words. Together, they organized a community-driven effort to build sustainable fishing practices and protect the fragile ecosystem. As stories like Ibrahim's spread, more people joined the cause. The Way Forward's environmental initiative inspired similar projects worldwide, creating a network of communities dedicated to preserving the planet. Jesus' message of stewardship resonated, reminding people of their interconnectedness and shared responsibility. Meanwhile, Layla spearheaded efforts to reform education systems, focusing on inclusivity and critical thinking. She believed that empowering the next generation with knowledge and empathy was crucial for lasting change. Schools affiliated with the Way Forward began to sprout, emphasizing holistic development and global citizenship. As their movement grew, so did the personal risks. Jesus and his team faced constant surveillance and threats from those who felt threatened by their influence. One night, their headquarters was vandalized, and several key members received anonymous warnings to stop their activities. Undeterred, Jesus reminded his followers that their mission was too important to abandon. In a surprising turn of events, an unexpected ally emerged from within the establishment. Dr. Evelyn Monroe, a respected scientist and former critic of Jesus, had a change of heart after witnessing the impact of the Way Forward's environmental initiatives. She reached out to offer her expertise and resources, signaling a potential shift in the attitudes of some within the scientific community. Dr. Monroe's involvement brought newfound credibility and support to the Way Forward. Her endorsement opened doors to previously inaccessible funding and partnerships, enabling the movement to expand its reach. Together, they launched a groundbreaking project to develop renewable energy solutions tailored to underserved communities. Despite these victories, the journey was far from over. Marcus Kane, now more desperate than ever, devised a plan to discredit Jesus once and for all. He orchestrated a series of provocations, hoping to incite a violent response from Jesus' followers that would justify a severe crackdown. Aware of Kane's intentions, Jesus called for a renewed commitment to nonviolence. He convened a global summit, inviting leaders and activists from all over the world to discuss strategies for peaceful resistance and dialogue. The summit, held in a remote but symbolic location, aimed to forge a united front against oppression and hatred. As the summit progressed, an air of tension and anticipation hung over the participants. They knew that the coming days would test their resolve and the strength of their convictions. Jesus, ever the beacon of hope, continued to inspire and guide them, reminding everyone that their struggle was not just for themselves, but for future generations. The summit culminated in a powerful declaration of unity and peace, signed by representatives from every continent. It was a bold statement to the world, a promise to stand together against the forces of division and fear. As the declaration was broadcast, it became clear that the movement had reached a critical juncture. But what lay ahead? How would Jesus and his followers navigate the escalating threats and challenges? The story, rich with potential and fraught with uncertainty, continued to unfold, hinting at both the trials and triumphs yet to come in their quest to transform the world. As the global summit for unity and peace came to a close, the atmosphere was electric with optimism and determination. Leaders and activists from around the world, reinvigorated by Jesus' message, left with renewed commitment to their causes. Yet, they also knew the road ahead would be fraught with difficulties and unforeseen challenges. Jesus and his core team returned to their headquarters in Jerusalem, where they were greeted by enthusiastic supporters and volunteers who had been tirelessly working to advance their initiatives. The movement was now a formidable force, with branches and allied organizations sprouting in every corner of the globe. One of their immediate priorities was to address the refugee crisis, which had reached unprecedented levels due to ongoing conflicts and climate-induced disasters. Jesus, accompanied by Layla and Dr. Monroe, visited refugee camps in Jordan, Turkey, and Greece, bringing both practical aid and hope to displaced families. In one particularly overcrowded camp, Jesus met a young boy named Ahmed, who had lost his parents in the turmoil of war. Ahmed's resilience and bravery moved Jesus deeply. He spent hours talking with the boy, helping him reconnect with his passion for drawing and encouraging him to use his art as a way to cope with his trauma. This encounter became a catalyst for launching a series of art therapy programs in refugee camps, giving countless children a means to express their pain and dreams. Meanwhile, Marcus Cain continued his campaign to undermine Jesus and the way forward. He lobbied for restrictive policies and spread disinformation, attempting to portray the movement as a threat to national security. Despite these efforts, the truth about Cain's corruption and manipulations gradually came to light, thanks in part to courageous whistleblowers and investigative journalists. As Cain's influence waned, a new challenge emerged from an unexpected quarter. An extremist faction, threatened by Jesus' inclusive and transformative message, began orchestrating violent attacks against his followers. One tragic day, a community center affiliated with the Way Forward was bombed, resulting in casualties and widespread fear. In response to this tragedy, Jesus called for a global day of mourning and reflection. He delivered a heartfelt speech, broadcast live to millions, where he emphasized the power of forgiveness and the importance of continuing their mission without succumbing to hatred and revenge. His words resonated deeply, inspiring a renewed wave of solidarity and resilience among his followers. The movement then turned its focus to promoting interfaith dialogue and understanding, recognizing that unity across religious and cultural lines was essential for lasting peace. Jesus, alongside religious leaders from various faiths, convened a series of interfaith conferences, fostering mutual respect and cooperation. These efforts began to bear fruit, as communities that had once been divided by mistrust and prejudice started to work together on common goals. In parallel, the Way Forward launched a groundbreaking initiative to address global poverty. Leveraging advances in technology and sustainable practices, they developed a comprehensive plan to empower marginalized communities through education, microfinancing, and infrastructure development. Pilot projects in Africa, Asia, and Latin America showed promising results, lifting thousands out of poverty and creating models that could be replicated worldwide. As the movement grew, internal challenges also emerged. Balancing the diverse priorities and perspectives of a global coalition required careful navigation. Layla, with her organizational acumen, played a crucial role in maintaining cohesion and focus. She fostered a culture of transparency and inclusivity, ensuring that every voice was heard and respected. Jesus, meanwhile, continued to travel tirelessly, visiting communities and individuals in need. His presence brought healing and hope, but also highlighted the deep-seated issues that still plagued the world. In a remote village in India, he met with farmers devastated by drought, offering both immediate relief and long-term strategies for sustainable agriculture. In a decaying urban neighborhood in Detroit, he sat with families facing eviction, advocating for policies to protect vulnerable populations. The journey was not without personal cost. Jesus often faced exhaustion and moments of doubt. Yet, his unwavering faith and the support of his close companions sustained him. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, he confided in Layla about his fears and hopes, drawing strength from her steadfast belief in their cause. As the movement entered its next phase, whispers of a grand conspiracy against Jesus began to surface. Powerful entities, threatened by the potential upheaval to their dominance, were rumored to be planning a decisive move to silence him once and for all. These whispers grew louder as incidents of surveillance and infiltration by unknown agents were reported. Layla and the inner circle took these threats seriously, implementing stricter security measures and working tirelessly to safeguard the movement's integrity. They also doubled down on their efforts to expose and counteract the dark forces arrayed against them. One fateful night, as Jesus and his team prepared for a major rally in the heart of Jerusalem, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The rally, intended to be a celebration of unity and progress, instead loomed as a potential flashpoint. Jesus, aware of the risks, chose to proceed, believing that the message of peace and justice must be proclaimed fearlessly, even in the face of danger. As the rally commenced, thousands gathered in a vibrant sea of support. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Jesus took to the stage, his presence radiating calm and determination. He spoke eloquently about the journey so far and the vision for a brighter future, his words weaving a tapestry of inspiration and resolve. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the edge of the crowd. Agents of chaos, planted by those seeking to undermine the movement, initiated a violent confrontation. Security forces quickly moved in, and pandemonium threatened to engulf the rally. Amidst the chaos, Jesus remained steadfast, urging calm and non-violence even as the situation escalated. In a dramatic moment, as tensions reached their peak, Jesus stepped forward, his voice cutting through the turmoil. "We must not let fear and hatred win," he declared, his words imbued with a quiet yet unyielding strength. The crowd, inspired by his courage, began to calm, and the instigators were gradually subdued without further violence. The rally, though marred by conflict, ended with a reaffirmation of the movement's core principles. The incident, captured by countless cameras, became a powerful symbol of resilience and the enduring power of love over fear. Yet, it also underscored the formidable challenges that lay ahead. As Jesus and his followers regrouped, they knew that their mission had entered a new and perilous phase. The forces against them were more determined than ever, and the stakes had never been higher. But with each challenge, their resolve deepened, and their commitment to a just and compassionate world grew stronger. The next chapter of their journey was poised to test their limits, pushing them to new heights of courage and innovation. What awaited them was a complex and unpredictable path, with the ultimate outcome still unwritten, promising further trials, triumphs, and profound transformations. In the wake of the dramatic rally in Jerusalem, the Way Forward movement continued to evolve. Their message of peace and justice had struck a chord with many, but the challenges they faced were growing ever more complex and dangerous. As the movement gained momentum, Jesus and his team braced for the next wave of opposition and opportunities. The days following the rally were a whirlwind of strategic planning and heightened vigilance. Layla, ever the strategist, worked tirelessly with Jesus and the core team to reinforce their security protocols and expand their outreach. They established a network of safe houses and communication channels to protect key members and ensure the movement's resilience. Meanwhile, Jesus continued his travels, visiting areas affected by poverty, conflict, and environmental degradation. His presence was a source of inspiration, and his ability to connect with people from all walks of life remained unparalleled. In a small village in Brazil, he met with indigenous leaders fighting to protect their land from illegal logging. His support brought international attention to their cause, pressuring the government to take action. Back in Jerusalem, the Way Forward headquarters became a hive of activity. Volunteers from around the world poured in, each bringing unique skills and perspectives. Among them was Raj, a brilliant young software engineer from India, who proposed creating a digital platform to coordinate global efforts more effectively. This platform, named CompassionNet, aimed to connect activists, share resources, and amplify voices in real time. Raj's initiative quickly bore fruit. Through CompassionNet, the movement was able to organize synchronized global protests, digital petitions, and awareness campaigns. One such campaign targeted corporate pollution, leveraging data analytics to expose environmental violations and mobilize public pressure. The campaign's success was a testament to the power of technology in driving social change. As their impact grew, so did the threats against them. Marcus Kane, now a shadowy figure in the background, orchestrated a series of covert operations to discredit and destabilize the movement. These included cyber attacks on CompassionNet, smear campaigns in the media, and infiltration attempts by undercover agents. Despite these setbacks, the Way Forward's adaptive and decentralized structure allowed them to withstand and counteract many of these efforts. One evening, as Jesus prepared for a live broadcast addressing the global community, an urgent message came through CompassionNet. A whistleblower from within Kane's inner circle had come forward, offering critical information about an imminent plan to sabotage a major humanitarian project spearheaded by the Way Forward in Africa. The project aimed to provide clean water to drought-stricken regions, and its success was crucial for the movement's credibility and impact. Jesus and Layla, along with a trusted team, immediately took action. They coordinated with local partners, bolstered security measures, and ensured that the project proceeded without interruption. The whistleblower, a former aide of Kane named Sarah, was brought to a safe location. Her testimony not only thwarted the sabotage, but also provided invaluable insights into Cain's network and strategies. Sarah's defection marked a turning point. Her detailed accounts of Cain's manipulations and the broader conspiracy against Jesus were compiled into a comprehensive dossier. Layla, working with investigative journalists, ensured that the dossier was meticulously verified and then released to the public. The revelations sparked a global outcry, leading to widespread demands for accountability and justice. As public pressure mounted, investigations into Cain's activities intensified. Law enforcement agencies, driven by the undeniable evidence and public outcry, began to dismantle his network. High-profile arrests followed, and many of Cain's former allies distanced themselves, further isolating him. Despite these victories, Jesus remained focused on the broader mission. He knew that the downfall of one adversary was not the end of their struggles. In a world still rife with inequality, injustice, and suffering, the work of the way forward was far from complete. In a heartfelt address to his followers, Jesus spoke of the need for continued vigilance and compassion. Our journey is not just about defeating those who oppose us, he said. It is about building a world where every person can live with dignity and hope. We must remain united, resilient, and ever committed to our cause. Inspired by his words, The Way Forward launched new initiatives focused on education, healthcare, and sustainable development. They partnered with universities to create scholarship programs for underprivileged youth, established mobile clinics in remote areas, and promoted renewable energy projects to combat climate change. Jesus also deepened his engagement with interfaith leaders, organizing dialogues and joint actions that transcended religious boundaries. These efforts fostered a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect, demonstrating that diverse beliefs could coexist and contribute to a common good. As the movement expanded its reach and impact, it faced the inevitable challenge of sustaining its momentum and integrity. Internal debates arose about the best strategies and priorities, reflecting the diverse perspectives within the coalition. Jesus, with his characteristic humility and wisdom, facilitated these discussions, ensuring that every voice was heard and valued. One day, a surprise visitor arrived at the Jerusalem headquarters. It was Dr. Evelyn Monroe, the scientist who had once been a vocal critic but had since become a staunch ally. She brought news of a groundbreaking discovery: a new, sustainable energy source that had the potential to revolutionize global energy consumption. This discovery, she believed, could help alleviate poverty, reduce environmental damage, and foster global cooperation. Dr. Monroe's discovery offered a beacon of hope, but also posed significant challenges. Implementing such a revolutionary technology required navigating political, economic, and social hurdles. Jesus and his team, recognizing the immense potential, embraced the challenge with determination. As plans for the new energy project took shape, Jesus continued to inspire and guide his followers. His message of love, justice, and unity resonated more than ever, serving as a constant reminder of the movement's ultimate goal. The establishment of the Institute for Global Transformation marked a significant milestone for the Way Forward movement. With students from diverse backgrounds and countries, the Institute became a beacon of hope and a hub for innovative ideas. Courses covered a wide range of topics, from sustainable development and conflict resolution to ethics and leadership. Jesus himself often visited the campus, sharing his insights and inspiring the next generation of leaders. As the first cohort of students embarked on their studies, Jesus and his team faced new challenges and opportunities on the global stage. One pressing issue was the rise of authoritarian regimes that sought to consolidate power by suppressing dissent and curtailing human rights. In response, the Way Forward intensified its efforts to promote democratic governance and human rights. Layla spearheaded a campaign to support grassroots activists in countries under authoritarian rule. This campaign provided resources, training, and international visibility to those fighting for democracy and justice. Jesus personally reached out to these activists, offering words of encouragement and solidarity. His moral authority and global influence amplified their voices, making it harder for oppressive regimes to silence them. In one notable instance, Jesus and Layla traveled to a nation in Southeast Asia where protests against a repressive government had reached a critical point. They met with local leaders, participated in peaceful demonstrations, and engaged in dialogue with government officials. Their presence brought international attention to the situation, increasing pressure on the regime to initiate reforms. Meanwhile, the A Light for All project continued to expand. With successful pilot programs in Africa and India, the initiative now aimed to bring sustainable energy to conflict zones and economically disadvantaged areas worldwide. The impact was profound. Communities once plagued by darkness and instability began to flourish, with improved education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. One evening, as Jesus reviewed the progress of their various initiatives, he received an urgent message from Raj. The whistleblower, Sarah, had uncovered information about a secretive meeting of global elites who were plotting to undermine the way forward. This cabal, comprising influential figures from politics, business, and the military, saw the movement's success as a direct threat to their power and interests. Jesus and his core team convened immediately to address this new threat. They decided to take a proactive approach by exposing the cabal's plans to the public. Raj, leveraging his expertise in cybersecurity, hacked into the meeting's communications and gathered irrefutable evidence of their schemes. Layla coordinated with trusted media partners to ensure the information was disseminated widely and responsibly. The exposure of the cabal sent shockwaves around the world. Public outrage and condemnation were swift, leading to investigations and resignations among those implicated. The revelation also strengthened the Way Forward's credibility and underscored the movement's commitment to transparency and justice. Despite these victories, Jesus remained focused on the long-term goals of the movement. He continued to travel extensively, forging alliances and addressing pressing global issues. In a remote part of the Amazon rainforest, he met with indigenous tribes fighting against deforestation. His support helped galvanize international efforts to protect these vital ecosystems and the cultures that depended on them. In Europe, Jesus addressed the rising tide of nationalism and xenophobia. He organized a series of public forums and dialogues, bringing together people from diverse backgrounds to discuss the values of inclusion and empathy. His message resonated deeply, countering fear and prejudice with hope and understanding. As the movement grew, internal dynamics also evolved. New leaders emerged within the Way Forward, each bringing fresh perspectives and skills. Layla, Raj, Dr. Monroe, and others continued to play pivotal roles, but they also mentored younger members to ensure the movement's sustainability. One of these emerging leaders was Amina, a passionate human rights advocate from Syria who had been deeply affected by the war in her homeland. Amina's journey from a refugee to a key figure in the Way Forward symbolized the transformative power of the movement. Her work focused on advocating for displaced persons and integrating refugees into host communities. Amina's efforts led to a groundbreaking initiative called A Bridges of Hope, which aimed to build sustainable, inclusive communities for refugees and host populations. The initiative provided housing, education, and employment opportunities, fostering mutual respect and cooperation. Jesus and Amina often worked together, visiting these communities and sharing their stories with the world. As A Bridges of Hope gained international acclaim, another unexpected development occurred. A group of influential business leaders, inspired by the ethical and sustainable practices promoted by the Way Forward, proposed a partnership to transform global supply chains. They envisioned a system that prioritized environmental stewardship, fair labor practices, and economic equity. Jesus saw this as a unique opportunity to leverage corporate influence for the greater good. He and Layla negotiated terms that ensured the partnership aligned with the movement's values and goals. The collaboration, named Sustainable Futures, aimed to revolutionize industries from agriculture to manufacturing, setting new standards for ethical and sustainable business practices. However, as these ambitious projects unfolded, the shadow of the cabal still loomed. While their initial plans had been thwarted, they regrouped and sought new ways to counteract the Way Forward. This time, they focused on sowing division within the movement, exploiting differences and disagreements to weaken their unity. Aware of this threat, Jesus emphasized the importance of solidarity and dialogue within the Way Forward. He initiated a series of retreats and workshops designed to strengthen the bonds among members and address any underlying tensions. These gatherings fostered a deeper sense of community and commitment, reinforcing the movement's resilience. One evening, during a retreat at a serene location by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus gathered his closest companions for a heart-to-heart conversation. He spoke of the trials they had faced and the challenges that lay ahead. "Our journey is far from over," he said, his voice filled with both gravity and hope. "We must remain vigilant, compassionate, and steadfast. Together, we can overcome any obstacle and bring about the change we envision." As the night sky shimmered with stars, Jesus and his companions reaffirmed their dedication to the way forward. They knew that the road ahead would be arduous, but they were united in their purpose and ready to face whatever came next. And so, the story of Jesus in the modern world continued, with new chapters unfolding each day. The movement's impact grew, touching more lives and transforming communities worldwide. Yet, the ultimate outcome remained unwritten, with each step a testament to the enduring power of love, justice, and human solidarity. The retreat by the Sea of Galilee infused the way forward with renewed vigor and unity. As Jesus and his companions returned to their respective missions, they carried with them a deeper sense of purpose and an unwavering commitment to their shared vision. Meanwhile, the Sustainable Futures initiative began to take shape. The partnership with ethical business leaders set in motion a series of projects designed to reform global supply chains. Factories that once exploited laborers were transformed into models of fair wages and safe working conditions. Agricultural practices that depleted soil and poisoned waterways were replaced with sustainable farming techniques that nurtured the environment and improved food security. In the heart of this transformation was a series of pilot programs in Southeast Asia. Jesus visited one of these sites in Bangladesh, where a once exploitative garment factory had been turned into a cooperative owned and operated by its workers. The change was profound. Workers who once toiled in dangerous conditions now had a stake in their work, receiving fair wages and benefits. The factory's products, labeled ethically made, began to gain popularity in global markets, proving that sustainable business could be both ethical and profitable. However, the cabal, although weakened, remained a persistent threat. They had shifted their tactics to more insidious means, leveraging their influence to incite political and social instability. In various parts of the world, they funded extremist groups, spread misinformation, and stoked division. One of their major targets was Europe, where populist and nationalist movements were gaining ground. These groups capitalized on economic disparities and fears about immigration, presenting a direct challenge to the inclusive vision promoted by the Way Forward. In response, Jesus and his team launched a campaign called Unity in Diversity, aimed at countering xenophobia and promoting solidarity. The world stood at a crossroads, with the potential for profound transformation within reach. Yet, the journey was far from over, and the future remained uncertain. Jesus and his followers knew that the path ahead would be marked by both trials and triumphs, but they were ready to face whatever came next, driven by their unwavering commitment to a better world. And so, the story of Jesus in the modern world continued to unfold, with each new chapter building on the last, weaving a narrative of hope, resilience, and unyielding faith in the power of love to change the world. As Dr. Evelyn Monroe's groundbreaking energy discovery began to gain traction, Jesus and his team worked tirelessly to develop a comprehensive implementation strategy. They understood that this new energy source could be a game-changer, capable of lifting millions out of poverty and significantly reducing global carbon emissions. The project, named A Light for All, symbolized their vision of a future where sustainable energy was accessible to every corner of the planet. The first step was to secure funding and partnerships. Layla, leveraging her vast network, organized a global summit focused on sustainable development. Leaders from governments, corporations, NGOs, and academia gathered to discuss the potential of Dr. Monroe's discovery. Jesus, with his characteristic humility and clarity, presented the vision of the light for all, emphasizing the moral imperative to act swiftly and inclusively. The summit was a resounding success. Major philanthropic organizations pledged significant funding, while tech giants and engineering firms offered their expertise. Governments from various nations expressed their support, recognizing the project's potential to address both environmental and economic challenges. As the implementation phase began, pilot projects were launched in regions most in need. In sub-Saharan Africa, where energy poverty was rampant, new facilities were established to harness this sustainable energy source. Rural communities that had never had reliable electricity were suddenly illuminated, transforming lives and economies. Children could study at night, healthcare facilities could operate efficiently, and small businesses could thrive. In India, a country grappling with severe pollution and energy shortages, the technology was integrated into urban infrastructures, significantly reducing the reliance on coal and other fossil fuels. Cities began to breathe easier, and the public health benefits were immediately apparent. While these initial successes brought hope and validation, they also attracted new challenges. Powerful oil and coal industries, threatened by the potential decline in demand for their products, launched aggressive campaigns to discredit the technology and its proponents. Lobbyists worked tirelessly to sway politicians and regulators, while disinformation spread across media platforms. Jesus and his team anticipated these attacks. They intensified their efforts to educate the public about the benefits and safety of the new energy source. Dr. Monroe, along with other leading scientists, held numerous press conferences and public forums, debunking myths and addressing concerns. The movement's transparency and dedication to truth gradually eroded the opposition's credibility. Meanwhile, Marcus Kane, though increasingly marginalized, continued his efforts to disrupt the way forward. Using his remaining influence, he orchestrated cyberattacks aimed at compromising the infrastructure of Be Light for All. These attacks caused temporary setbacks, but Raj and his tech team, anticipating such threats, had implemented robust cybersecurity measures. The incidents only highlighted the resilience and preparedness of the movement. As a Light for All gained momentum, another significant development unfolded. An influential group of religious leaders from various faiths, inspired by Jesus' unwavering commitment to unity and justice, proposed a global interfaith council. This council, aimed at fostering dialogue and cooperation among different religious traditions, sought to address global issues through a moral and ethical lens. Jesus, recognizing the importance of this initiative, fully supported the creation of the Interfaith Council for Global Harmony. The Council's first major undertaking was to address the refugee crisis. Religious leaders, drawing on their moral authority and extensive networks, coordinated efforts to provide shelter, food, and medical care to displaced populations. They also advocated for policy changes, urging governments to adopt more humane and comprehensive approaches to migration and asylum. The formation of the Interfaith Council had a profound impact. It demonstrated that faith, often seen as a source of division, could be a powerful force for unity and collective action. The Council's work extended to promoting peace in conflict zones, where religious differences had fueled violence. In regions like the Middle East and parts of Africa, the Council facilitated dialogues between warring factions, contributing to tentative but hopeful steps toward reconciliation. As these initiatives unfolded, Jesus continued his grassroots work. In a slum in Rio de Janeiro, he collaborated with local activists to improve living conditions and create opportunities for education and employment. In a remote village in Nepal, he helped build infrastructure for clean water and healthcare, working alongside community members and volunteers. One of the most poignant moments occurred in a war-torn part of Syria. Jesus, accompanied by a small team, ventured into a besieged city to deliver humanitarian aid and mediate peace talks. Despite the immense danger, his presence and unwavering message of peace brought temporary ceasefires, allowing aid to reach those in desperate need and fostering a fragile hope for lasting peace. Throughout these endeavors, Jesus faced immense personal risk and sacrifice. He often went without rest, driven by a relentless commitment to his mission. His close companions, including Layla, Raj, Dr. Monroe, and others, provided crucial support, ensuring that the movement's various facets operated smoothly and effectively. As a Light for All and the Interfaith Council continued to grow, the world began to witness tangible changes. Pollution levels decreased, economic opportunities flourished, and a renewed sense of global solidarity emerged. The momentum seemed unstoppable, but Jesus knew that their journey was far from complete. The forces of resistance, though weakened, were still potent, and new challenges loomed on the horizon. In a strategic meeting, Jesus and his core team discussed the next phase of their mission. They identified key areas needing attention, such as systemic racism, gender inequality, and political corruption. They also recognized the importance of preparing future leaders who could carry the torch of their vision forward. Layla proposed the establishment of an international academy dedicated to training young leaders in the principles of justice, compassion, and sustainable development. This academy, she argued, would ensure that the values and strategies of the way forward would endure beyond their lifetimes. Jesus agreed, seeing it as a vital step in creating a lasting legacy. As plans for the academy took shape, another unexpected development occurred. A high-ranking official from an oppressive regime reached out discreetly, seeking Jesus' counsel. This official, disillusioned by the corruption and brutality within his government, wanted to explore possibilities for peaceful reform. Jesus, recognizing the potential for transformative change, agreed to a clandestine meeting. The meeting, held in a remote and secure location, marked a new dimension in Jesus' mission. It highlighted the potential for dialogue and reconciliation even in the most unlikely circumstances. As word of the meeting spread discreetly, it inspired other officials and leaders to consider the path of peace and reform. Back in Jerusalem, preparations for the International Academy progressed swiftly. The Academy, named the Institute for Global Transformation, was established in partnership with leading universities and institutions. It attracted young, passionate individuals from around the world, eager to learn and make a difference. As the first cohort of students began their journey, Jesus addressed them in a powerful inaugural speech. He spoke of the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, urging them to remain steadfast in their commitment to justice and compassion. "You are the torchbearers of our vision," he said. "The future we strive for depends on your courage, your wisdom, and your unwavering dedication." With the Institute up and running, the Way Forward's reach and influence expanded even further. The movement's impact was now felt in education, healthcare, environmental sustainability, interfaith dialogue, and beyond. Yet, Jesus and his team knew that their mission was an ongoing journey, one that required constant vigilance, adaptation, and renewal. And so, as the story of Jesus in the modern world continued to unfold, new chapters of hope, struggle, and transformation awaited. Each day brought fresh challenges and opportunities, weaving an ever-evolving tapestry of faith, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of a just and compassionate world. This campaign included a series of high-profile events and grassroots initiatives. In Berlin, Jesus spoke at a massive rally, where he called for empathy and understanding. "We must see the humanity in each other," he urged. "Our differences are our strength, not our weakness." His words resonated deeply, and the rally marked a turning point, igniting a wave of support for inclusive policies and intercultural dialogue. In another effort to combat misinformation, Raj and his tech team developed an innovative platform called Truth Seekers. This digital tool used advanced algorithms and community reporting to identify and debunk false information. It also provided resources to educate the public about media literacy and critical thinking. Truth Seekers quickly became a trusted source, helping to stem the tide of misinformation and restore faith in factual reporting. During this period, the Way Forward also deepened its engagement with the arts. Recognizing the power of culture to inspire and unite, Jesus and his team collaborated with artists, musicians, and filmmakers to create works that reflected the movement's ideals. A documentary about the transformation of the Bangladeshi garment factory won international acclaim, while a series of concerts promoting peace and justice drew massive crowds and media attention. One particularly impactful project was a mural campaign in urban areas around the world. These vibrant murals depicted scenes of unity, justice, and environmental stewardship, turning city streets into canvases of hope. In Rio de Janeiro, a mural showing children of all backgrounds playing together became a symbol of the city's commitment to inclusion. In Johannesburg, a mural highlighting the importance of clean energy inspired local efforts to adopt sustainable practices. Despite these successes, the internal dynamics of the Way Forward required careful management. As the movement grew, so did the diversity of opinions and approaches. Jesus continued to emphasize the importance of open dialogue and mutual respect. He held regular councils where members could voice their ideas and concerns, ensuring that the movement remained adaptable and democratic. One of these councils led to the creation of a new initiative focused on mental health. Recognizing that true well-being encompassed not just physical and economic health, but also mental and emotional health, Jesus and his team launched A Healing Minds. This initiative aimed to provide mental health support in underserved communities, destigmatize mental illness, and integrate mental health care into public health systems. As A Healing Minds took off, it brought immediate benefits. In communities ravaged by conflict and trauma, mental health professionals and volunteers offered counseling and support, helping individuals and families heal and rebuild. The initiative also trained local health workers, ensuring that the impact would be sustainable and far-reaching. Amidst these developments, a surprising event unfolded. A delegation from an ancient religious order reached out to Jesus, requesting a private audience. This order, known for its secrecy and influence, had remained neutral in global affairs for centuries. Their leader, a venerable figure known as the Grand Master, wished to discuss matters of mutual concern. The meeting, held in a secluded monastery, revealed unexpected common ground. The Grand Master, impressed by Jesus' dedication and integrity, offered the support of the order. This alliance brought new resources and insights to the way forward, further enhancing its ability to effect change. As Jesus and his team navigated these complex dynamics, a new crisis emerged. In the Middle East, tensions between two rival nations escalated to the brink of war. The potential for widespread destruction and loss of life was immense. Recognizing the urgent need for intervention, Jesus decided to undertake a peace mission. With a small delegation, including Layla and Amina, Jesus traveled to the region. They met with leaders from both nations, as well as community representatives and religious figures. Through tireless negotiation and mediation, they sought to de-escalate the conflict and find a path to lasting peace. The mission was fraught with danger and uncertainty. There were moments of breakthrough and setbacks, but Jesus' unwavering commitment to nonviolence and reconciliation inspired hope. His presence in the conflict zone brought international attention and support, pressuring both sides to consider peaceful solutions. As the peace talks continued, back home in Jerusalem, the way forward faced another test. A catastrophic natural disaster struck a densely populated region, causing widespread devastation. The movement mobilized immediately, coordinating relief efforts and providing critical aid. Volunteers from around the world converged on the disaster zone, demonstrating the power of global solidarity in times of crisis. Through these trials and triumphs, Jesus remained a constant source of inspiration. His teachings and actions continued to resonate, not just with his immediate followers, but with people across the globe. The world, though fraught with challenges, was also ripe with possibilities for transformation and renewal. And so, as the way forward moved into the next phase of its journey, the story of Jesus in the modern world remained an unfolding epic. With each new challenge, the movement grew stronger and more resilient, driven by an unyielding commitment to justice, compassion, and the collective good. The future, still unwritten, held the promise of a world where love and justice prevailed. As Jesus and his team worked tirelessly to mediate peace in the Middle East, their efforts began to show signs of progress. Both nations, weary of prolonged conflict and external pressures, agreed to a temporary ceasefire. This fragile peace allowed humanitarian aid to reach affected civilians and opened the door for more substantive negotiations. During these tense but hopeful days, Jesus arranged a series of dialogues between the warring factions. Held in neutral territories, these meetings focused on common ground rather than differences. Jesus' presence, combined with his innate ability to foster understanding and empathy, facilitated breakthroughs that had seemed impossible. Gradually, both sides started to outline a framework for a lasting peace agreement. Back in Jerusalem, the Way Forward's rapid response to the natural disaster showcased the movement's organizational prowess and compassion. Volunteers from diverse backgrounds and skill sets worked together seamlessly, providing food, medical care, and shelter to the displaced. The disaster relief efforts also highlighted the importance of community resilience and preparedness, leading to the development of a new initiative focused on disaster risk reduction and sustainable rebuilding. Named Rebuild and Renew, this initiative aimed to help communities recover from disasters while also strengthening their capacity to withstand future shocks. The program integrated traditional knowledge with cutting-edge technology to create resilient infrastructures and support systems. Jesus, always leading by example, spent time in the affected areas, working alongside volunteers and offering comfort to those who had lost everything. As these efforts continued, a new challenge arose. In South America, an indigenous tribe faced threats from illegal loggers and miners encroaching on their ancestral lands. These activities not only threatened the tribe's way of life, but also had severe environmental consequences. Jesus, recognizing the interconnectedness of social justice and environmental stewardship, decided to visit the region to support the tribe's cause. Accompanied by Amina and other members of the Way Forward, Jesus traveled deep into the Amazon rainforest. There, he met with tribal leaders, listened to their concerns, and witnessed the destruction firsthand. His presence galvanized international attention and support, leading to increased pressure on local and international authorities to protect indigenous rights and preserve the rainforest. The campaign to save the Amazon became a global movement, drawing support from environmental organizations, activists, and concerned citizens worldwide. Through peaceful protests, legal battles, and public awareness campaigns, the Way Forward worked to halt the destructive activities and promote sustainable alternatives. Jesus' deep respect for the indigenous people's wisdom and his commitment to environmental justice resonated with many, fostering a renewed sense of urgency to protect the planet. Meanwhile, the Institute for Global Transformation continued to thrive. The first cohort of graduates, now equipped with knowledge and experience, began to implement projects in their home countries. These young leaders, inspired by Jesus' teachings and the movement's principles, initiated programs addressing issues like clean water access, education, healthcare, and social justice. One such leader, Maria, returned to her community in Kenya and launched a project aimed at providing clean drinking water through innovative filtration systems. Her efforts not only improved health outcomes but also empowered women, who no longer had to spend hours each day fetching water. Maria's project became a model for similar initiatives across Africa, demonstrating the ripple effect of the Way Forward's vision. As the movement's influence spread, Jesus continued to engage with world leaders, activists, and ordinary people. He participated in a historic summit on climate change, where his call for urgent and collective action inspired new commitments and collaborations. His emphasis on ethical leadership and sustainable practices helped shift global policies toward more responsible stewardship of the Earth's resources. Amidst these global endeavors, Jesus also maintained a focus on individual transformation. He often spent time in quiet reflection and prayer, drawing strength and guidance for the immense responsibilities he carried. His close companions, including Layla, Raj, Dr. Monroe, and Amina, provided unwavering support, each contributing their unique talents to the cause. One evening, as Jesus and his core team gathered around a campfire in a remote part of the Amazon, they reflected on the journey so far. The challenges had been immense, but the victories, both large and small, were testaments to the power of unity, compassion, and perseverance. Jesus spoke softly, his words imbued with hope and resolve. "We have come far, but our work is not yet done," he said, gazing into the flickering flames. "There will always be new challenges, new adversities. But as long as we remain true to our values and to each other, we can continue to make a difference. Our journey is a testament to the human spirit's capacity for love and resilience." His words resonated deeply with his companions, who nodded in agreement. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with obstacles, but they also knew that together, they could overcome them. As the night wore on, the team made plans for the next phase of their mission. They discussed new initiatives, potential alliances, and strategies to address emerging issues. Each member brought their expertise and perspective to the table, ensuring that the movement remained dynamic and inclusive. The story of Jesus in the modern world was far from over. Each day brought new opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. The Way Forward continued to evolve, adapting to the ever-changing landscape while staying rooted in its core principles of justice, compassion, and collective well-being. And so, as the stars shone brightly overhead, the journey continued, an unfolding epic of hope, struggle, and the enduring pursuit of a better world. As dawn broke over the Amazon, Jesus and his companions prepared to return to their respective missions, each carrying with them the collective wisdom and strength gained from their time together. The air was filled with a renewed sense of purpose and determination to address the pressing issues of the modern world. Back in Jerusalem, the Institute for Global Transformation was buzzing with activity. The second cohort of students had arrived, bringing with them fresh energy and innovative ideas. These young leaders came from every corner of the globe, united by a shared vision of a just and sustainable future. They were eager to learn from Jesus and his team, to contribute to the way forward, and to initiate change in their own communities. Among the new students was Karim, a bright and passionate activist from Lebanon, who had experienced firsthand the devastation of war and economic collapse. He had joined the Institute with a vision to rebuild his homeland through community-led development and renewable energy projects. Inspired by Jesus' teachings, Karim quickly became a leader among his peers, driving initiatives that combined traditional knowledge with modern technology to create resilient and self-sustaining communities. Meanwhile, the Unity in Diversity campaign was gaining momentum across Europe. Jesus and his team organized a series of cultural festivals, workshops, and dialogue sessions in cities that had been hotspots of nationalist sentiments. These events celebrated the rich tapestry of human cultures and promoted understanding and collaboration. Jesus' presence at these gatherings, always with a message of empathy and unity, attracted people from all walks of life. In Berlin, a landmark event took place, a massive cultural festival that brought together artists, musicians, and performers from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. The festival culminated in a speech by Jesus, who stood on a stage adorned with symbols from various cultures and faiths. "We are all threads in the same tapestry," he said, his voice resonating through the crowd. "Our strength lies in our diversity, in the myriad ways we express our humanity. Let us weave these threads together to create a fabric of unity and peace." The festival had a profound impact, fostering connections and collaborations that transcended borders and prejudices. It became a model for similar events in other parts of Europe, gradually transforming public perceptions and fostering a more inclusive society. In the Middle East, the peace talks facilitated by Jesus continued to bear fruit. The temporary ceasefire evolved into a comprehensive peace agreement, addressing long-standing grievances and laying the groundwork for reconciliation and rebuilding. Jesus' role as a mediator and moral guide was instrumental in this process, earning him the respect and admiration of leaders and citizens alike. With peace taking root, Jesus turned his attention to another pressing issue: the global refugee crisis. In partnership with international organizations and governments, The Way Forward launched an ambitious program called Safe Havens. This initiative aimed to provide comprehensive support to refugees, including housing, education, healthcare, and opportunities for economic integration. In Greece, where thousands of refugees were stranded in camps under dire conditions, Safe Havens established community centers that offered a range of services. Jesus personally visited these centers, listening to the stories of displaced individuals and families, and offering words of hope and encouragement. His presence brought renewed attention to the plight of refugees and galvanized international efforts to address the crisis more humanely and effectively. Back in the United States, The Way Forward faced new challenges as political polarization and social unrest threatened to destabilize communities. Jesus and his team launched a series of initiatives aimed at bridging divides and fostering dialogue. These included town hall meetings, interfaith dialogues, and community building projects that brought together people from different backgrounds and political affiliations. One such project was in a small town in the Midwest, where economic hardship had fueled division and resentment. Jesus and Layla worked with local leaders to create a community garden and cooperative market that provided fresh produce and economic opportunities. The project became a focal point for the community, fostering cooperation and understanding. As these efforts unfolded, The Way Forward also focused on the critical issue of climate change. Jesus and Dr. Monroe led a global campaign to promote sustainable practices and renewable energy. This included advocating for policy changes, supporting grassroots environmental movements, and developing educational programs to raise awareness about the climate crisis. In a dramatic event, Jesus addressed the United Nations Climate Summit, calling on world leaders to take urgent and decisive action. "Our planet is our home," he declared, "and it is our sacred duty to protect and preserve it for future generations. The time for half measures is over. We must act with courage and conviction." His speech, coupled with the ongoing efforts of the Way Forward, helped to catalyze a new wave of environmental activism and policy commitments. Nations began to adopt more ambitious targets for reducing carbon emissions, investing in renewable energy, and protecting natural ecosystems. Throughout these global endeavors, Jesus never lost sight of the individual lives that formed the fabric of his mission. He continued to visit communities, offering solace and support, whether it was a family rebuilding after a natural disaster, a young activist fighting for justice, or a community striving for peace and harmony. One particularly poignant moment occurred in a refugee camp in Jordan. Jesus met a young girl named Amal, whose name meant a hope in Arabic. Despite the hardships she had endured, Amal was full of dreams and aspirations. She wanted to become a doctor to help others like herself. Jesus spent time with her, listening to her story and encouraging her to pursue her dreams. "Your name is your destiny," he told her. "She never lose hope, for it is the light that guides us through the darkest times." Amal's story, shared widely, became a symbol of resilience and the transformative power of hope. Donations and support poured in for education programs in refugee camps, and Amal's dream of becoming a doctor inspired many others. As the Way Forward continued to navigate the complexities of the modern world, it became clear that their mission was not just about addressing immediate challenges, but also about building a foundation for a more just, compassionate, and sustainable future. Jesus and his companions knew that their journey was ongoing, with new horizons to explore and new frontiers of change to embrace. And so, the story of Jesus in the modern world remained an unfinished epic, an ever-evolving testament to the enduring power of love, justice, and human solidarity. The future held countless possibilities, each day bringing new opportunities to make a difference and to continue the work of creating a better world for all. As the years passed, the Way Forward continued to grow and evolve, leaving an indelible mark on the world. The efforts to foster peace, promote justice, and protect the environment bore fruit in ways both profound and lasting. Communities once divided by conflict found reconciliation and harmony, while movements for social and environmental justice gained unstoppable momentum. In the Middle East, the peace agreement brokered by Jesus and his team held firm. Nations that had once been enemies began to collaborate on projects that promoted mutual prosperity and cultural exchange. Refugees who had fled their homes were able to return and rebuild, supported by international aid and local initiatives designed to foster stability and growth. Jesus' vision of a world united by compassion and understanding seemed to be taking root in this region once torn by strife. The Safe Havens initiative blossomed into a global network of support for displaced individuals. Refugee camps transformed into vibrant communities where education, healthcare, and economic opportunities were readily available. In Jordan, Amal's dream of becoming a doctor came true. She graduated at the top of her class and returned to the camp where she grew up, now a beacon of hope for many. Her clinic became renowned for its compassionate care, and she continued to inspire others to pursue their dreams despite adversity. In the United States, the Way Forward's efforts to bridge political and social divides began to show significant progress. The Community Garden and Cooperative Market Project in the Midwest became a model for similar initiatives across the country. Towns and cities adopted policies that promoted inclusion and mutual respect, leading to a decrease in polarization and an increase in community solidarity. The dialogue sessions and interfaith meetings fostered a new era of understanding and cooperation, healing the fractures that once seemed insurmountable. The environmental campaign, led by Jesus and Dr. Monroe, saw tangible results. Countries around the world committed to ambitious climate action plans, drastically reducing their carbon footprints and investing heavily in renewable energy. The global shift towards sustainable practices led to cleaner air, healthier ecosystems, and a significant slowdown in global warming. Coastal communities, once threatened by rising sea levels, implemented successful adaptation strategies, securing their futures. One of the most remarkable transformations took place in the Amazon rainforest. The efforts to protect indigenous lands and promote sustainable development were wildly successful. Illegal logging and mining were curtailed, and reforestation projects restored vast swathes of the rainforest. Indigenous communities thrived, their wisdom and stewardship playing a crucial role in preserving one of the world's most vital ecosystems. Jesus' partnership with the tribal leaders ensured that their rights and cultures were respected and celebrated. The Institute for Global Transformation continued to produce visionary leaders who took the Way Forward's principles to every corner of the globe. Karim's renewable energy projects in Lebanon became a beacon of sustainable development, revitalizing rural areas and providing reliable, clean power. Maria's clean water initiatives expanded beyond Kenya, reaching communities across Africa and beyond, significantly improving public health and economic opportunities. As the movement's influence grew, so did its capacity to address new challenges. Jesus and his team remained agile and responsive, always ready to adapt and innovate. Their emphasis on ethical leadership, inclusivity, and sustainability became the gold standard for organizations and governments worldwide. In a momentous development, the Way Forward facilitated a historic agreement at the United Nations, where world leaders committed to a comprehensive framework for global peace and development. This agreement, inspired by Jesus' teachings, focused on eradicating poverty, promoting human rights, and protecting the environment. It marked the dawn of a new era of international cooperation and shared responsibility. One evening, as the sun set over Jerusalem, Jesus gathered with his closest companions at the Institute. The campus was alive with the energy and optimism of young people dedicated to creating a better world. As they sat together, reflecting on their journey, Jesus spoke with a deep sense of fulfillment. We have witnessed incredible changes, he said, his eyes shining with gratitude. But our greatest achievement is not in the projects we have completed or the agreements we have signed. It is in the hearts we have touched, the minds we have opened, and the spirits we have uplifted. The true measure of our success is the hope and love we have spread across the world. Layla, Raj, Dr. Monroe, Amina, and the others nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the shared sense of purpose and accomplishment. They knew that the work of the Way Forward was a testament to the enduring power of compassion and solidarity. As they looked to the future, they saw a world transformed, one where justice, peace, and sustainability were not just ideals but lived realities. They saw communities thriving in harmony with nature, societies united by mutual respect and understanding, and a planet healing from the scars of the past. And so, with hearts full of hope and determination, they continued their journey, knowing that the story of Jesus in the modern world was a testament to the boundless potential of humanity to create a world where love and justice prevailed. In this world, the message of Jesus, carried forward by countless hands and hearts, had become a beacon of light, guiding humanity toward a brighter, more harmonious future. The Way Forward's legacy was one of unity, resilience, and the unwavering belief that together, we can build a better world for all. And in this legacy, the story found its happy, ever-continuing end.